The night was Halloween, and my friends and I had been looking forward to a costume party rumored to be held at an old but perfectly safe mansion on the outskirts of town. We had spent weeks planning our costumes and were eager for a night of fun and spooky festivities. As we arrived at the mansion, we were greeted by the sight of an old yet well-maintained house. Its charmingly rustic appearance gave off a quaint vibe rather than an eerie one. The moonlight bathed the scene in a soft glow, creating a cozy atmosphere. The front door opened with a friendly welcome, revealing a bustling party inside. People were dressed in a wide variety of costumes, from classic monsters to pop culture icons. The sound of laughter and music filled the air, and we couldn't wait to join in. As the night went on, we mingled with other partygoers, dancing, enjoying the food, and playing some Halloween-themed games. The mansion's interior, though vintage, was decorated in a fun and festive manner, and there was no sense of unease. Eventually, though, curiosity led me to explore the mansion further. I wandered through hallways adorned with cobwebs and fake spiders, adding to the Halloween ambience. It was all in good fun and nothing seemed amiss. I found a staircase that led to the basement, but when I descended, I discovered a room that had been set up as a spooky Halloween house attraction, or at least I thought it had. It was complete with the eerie decorations, animatronic monsters, and dim lighting. I thought there would be nothing sinister, but as I entered the room, something just seemed off about it. It almost seemed too well done, like it was perfect, and it being perfect made it seem uncomfortable. It almost gave off a kind of back rooms or liminal space vibe. I explored the area for a little and didn't really find anything, but eventually my unease took over and I had to leave and return to the party. I made it up the stairs a little bit quicker this time, and I rejoined my friends. We spent the rest of the night having a great time and enjoying Halloween as always. The night had turned out to be everything that we had hoped, a memorable Halloween filled with fun and laughter. But after getting home, something still just hits me that I escaped something that could have been horrible otherwise. I don't know if I stumbled into the entrance to a backrooms area, but I'm lucky that I didn't hang around for a long time. My night could have ended up much worse than it was. I grew up in a small town in New Zealand, and I had recently moved to a big city for a university. The town I grew up in was a really tough and a gang-oriented place, so I was always somewhat wary of strangers. However, not little old white men in mobility scooters. Living in a big city was awesome because I got to go shopping in malls and Kmart. Kmart in New Zealand is probably the equivalent of Walmart in the US, but us Kiwis seem to love it a lot. Anyway, one day I was shopping at Kmart looking at the dog beds which were at the back aisle of the store. Kmart is huge and the back aisle is the entire length of the store. I get this feeling that I'm being watched and I see an old man in a mobility scooter at the opposite end staring at me. I gave him a smile and I turned back to browsing when, in my peripheral, I see him racing towards me in a scooter at a great speed. I immediately assumed that his urgency must mean that he needs some help reaching or finding something, so I turned to face him. He was a harmless old man, right? Wrong. He quickly starts chatting to me and sharing personal things with me without actually greeting me. He starts telling me that I look like his wife who had passed when she was younger. And then he starts telling me how lonely he is, so I start to feel so much pity for him. And then the conversation starts taking a weird turn. He starts telling me how he likes to dress up and feel sexy in women's clothing. And then he starts to open his mouth and show me his missing teeth and gums. The sudden turn of conversation startles me, and I start to realize that I need this to end and leave him immediately. After several attempts at saying goodbye, he finally agrees to let me go, and holds out his hand for a goodbye handshake. Desperate to leave, I agree to shake his hand in order for him to leave me alone. But suddenly, his grip tightens and I can't pull my hand away, He forces my hand towards his mouth and begins to make out with the back of it while swishing his tongue across it in circles. I aggressively pull my hand away and sprint out of the store in shock. The air from running makes the back of my hand feel cold and slimy. So I run to the mall toilets and I scrub my hand for a solid 10 minutes, vowing to never let him talk to me again. I thought I would never see him again until just recently I did. I was on the bus to university when he gets on without his mobility scooter and a walking stick instead. Thankfully, I had someone already sitting next to me, so I felt safe. However, his eyes scanned the bus, and when they met mine, he immediately smiled. So when the bus got to the interchange, where everyone gets off and gets into other buses, I quickly rushed off the bus so I wouldn't have to see him. I felt my stomach hit the floor when I hear him calling after me. I glance over my shoulder and I see him waving his walking stick, yelling and cursing after me. I quickly rush out to a shopping store to lose him, which is a success. The rest of the day goes fine until I go to return home and see that he is waiting at the stop I board my bus at. I hide until I can see my bus coming. He is looking around and he starts wandering away from the bus stop, which is my cue to quickly board. I jump in line and quickly board. However, he spotted me and he starts waving his stick and yelling after me again. I start to panic because I don't want to be trapped in a bus with him. He's just about to step on the bus when the driver all of a sudden slams the doors on him. This makes him furious and he starts smashing his walking stick against the window and shouting. I look at the driver, who smiles at me, gives me a nod and starts to pull away onto the road. I am overjoyed that this kind driver has literally just saved me from this creepy old man. So I step up to the window he's hitting and stare directly at him with the filthiest look I can give while the bus slowly drives away. I literally felt like I got my power back. I later found out that this old man is a well-known creep in the community, which makes me so grateful that the bus driver saved me that day. So, lesson for everyone: don't let your kindness keep you trapped in a situation that is dangerous. If someone is giving you the creeps, it's for a good reason. This happened my sophomore year of high school. My high school is down the street from a decently sized shopping center in the middle of a pretty large suburb. So, the little plaza is normally pretty busy. Mostly because of the Starbucks and McDonald's that all the kids went to after school. And the Walmart. Now, this Walmart isn't the typical warehouse type. It basically only carries groceries, so it typically doesn't attract your Walmart types. On the day this all went down, my friend and I decided to walk to the McDonald's in the plaza to grab a bite to eat and just to chat. When I decided that I wanted to buy some cans from Walmart to donate to people in need of hurricane relief. Since we came directly from school and neither of us could drive, we both still had our backpacks on us. I'm paranoid of being accused of stealing, so I left my bag with my friend who waited outside while I bought my stuff. Now, here's where it all went downhill. I walk in and I head straight for the cans, which are on the edge of the aisle, right next to the entrance. I was gathering cans in my arms when I see an old man, maybe 70 or 80, hobbling towards me. I assume that he's just walking to my aisle to shop, so I give him the polite, "Hi, how are you?" smile, and I go back to my can shopping. Only now I realize that this guy's eyes are trained on me, and the closer he gets to the aisle, the clearer it becomes that he's trying to talk to me. I'm a little weirded out at this point, but I again assume that he's harmless. Wrong. He eventually stops next to me, and I turn to him in acknowledgement. And he has this horrible fake smile on his face. Laughing, he says to me, "You know why I come to Walmart? To look at beautiful girls like you." At this point, I started to become scared. My mind started racing to all sorts of conclusions, and I questioned what I should do or say. Should I yell for help, ignore him, be rude to him? I had no clue. I ended up trying to be polite, and I simply said, "Thank you," hoping that would satisfy him and he would leave. Wrong again. This wasn't enough for him because now he started chatting me up. He asked some stuff that I don't remember, and then he asked me the golden question. So, how old are you? This was it. It was my time to tell him my true age, and then he would back off after learning that I was grossly underage. Finally, I had my ticket out of this horrific exchange, except when I told him that I was 14. He cocked his head at me, and his sick smile widened. 14, you say? I thought you were 17, he stated, while almost seeming more interested by learning this fact. At this point, I'm nearly in tears, but I'm too damn nice to tell anyone to leave me alone. So, I just humored him with nods and mm-hms until he finally left. I was mortified, I felt violated, and dirty for not telling him to leave me alone despite not having the courage to. After he was far out of sight, I walked over to the customer service counter and told them what had happened. How he kept hitting on me even after assuming and knowing for a fact that I was underage. At this point, I was hysterical, and the customer service guy had the nerve to tell me that they couldn't do anything at all, not even ask him to leave. I left the store without my cans and returned to my friend in tears, and I told her what had happened. My friend didn't take lightly to this guy, and tried to get a reason with customer service, but to no avail. We decided that it was time to leave, so we called my mom to come get us, and we agreed to tell her when she arrived. When she did eventually pull into the parking lot, we told her everything, and once again, I was marched back into the store, but not to talk to customer service. By some stroke of luck, the guy was walking out of the store as we were walking in, and when I told my mom that that was the guy, she let loose. The wrath of an angry mother was released on this unsuspecting older dude, and this dummy responds, I didn't know she was 14. Nice save, dickhead. I guess I should give some background before I get into the story. I became homeless in late January, so I'm living in my car with my 120-pound female mastiff, who is a guardian breed. She keeps me very, very safe and always has. We have a routine in the mornings. First, I walk her at my cousin's house. Then I go to the local rest stop to use the facilities, and brush my teeth and wash my face and whatnot. After that, I go to a park and ride right by the rest stop to walk my dog again. Because of the virus, lots of people frequent this park and ride to either sit and read, listen to podcasts or audiobooks, or to nap. Now, when I walk my dog, I leave the back door of my car open because she is old and arthritic, and it's hard for her to get in and out of the car. I usually have to lift her from under her belly to load her into the car. I also leave it open that way because she is fear aggressive with humans due to being abused as a puppy, and she is an aggressive dog. So I like to make sure I can get her in the car quickly if I need to. I also like to park my car between a large van and an SUV that are seemingly abandoned there and just left there for whatever reason, so that my car is kind of hidden and nobody will park by me. Last week, the van wasn't at the park and ride, so I parked to the left of the SUV, as usual, the huge space between my car and any others in that row. I was walking my dog in the grass pretty far away from my car, and as usual, I had the car running with the back door slightly open. I was far enough from it that you wouldn't know if it was mine if you passed by. While walking my dog, I noticed a flash of a silver car out of the corner of my eye and thought that I might be a state trooper. And if it was, because I had both paranoia and an anxiety disorder, that he might reprimand me for walking my dog there. I stayed calm and I continued to walk my dog, intent on getting her to do her business so we could get back in the car and leave. The car passed by once more, and I noticed that it wasn't a state police car. It was a silver Honda with an old man driving. He was purposely driving as close as he could to my dog and I without hitting the curb, and was literally just crawling the car along our path. When I turned around, he did too. He crept past once more, staring out of his open window at me the entire time, and not even watching the road. I got agitated at that point, and resigned myself to the idea that I would have to confront him if he continued to stalk us. He passed by once more, crawling again and trying to get closer. When he realized that I was heading for the cars, he turned around again. I got Karma, my dog, in the car and settled myself into the driver's seat, and took some time to give her a bowl of fresh, clean water, her treats, and took a moment to plug in my laptop to my inverter and charge it for later. I saw the silver car out of the corner of my eye again, and watched as the old man parked a few cars away from mine in the same row, next to a man in a black pickup truck that I noticed was watching this old man curiously. I was thankful the man in the truck was there and watching, and I noticed the way the old man was creeping by me and stalking me. The old man purposely reverse parked so his window was lined up with my driver's side window, and continued to belligerently stare at me from out of his open window, as I did what I needed to before I would leave the park and ride. He was leaning against his door with his head out, and just staring straight at me, not even blinking. I ignored him as I had been doing, carrying on with my business, checking Reddit while I plugged in my phone and organized the belongings in my front seat, and gathered up some garbage to put in the little garbage bag I keep on the floor of the front seat. I was raised to be tough and unafraid, and I wasn't going to let this creepy old man spook me. I looked up after about 10 minutes and he was still staring right at me, still not even blinking. So I turned my head and I avoided eye contact as I put on my seatbelt. I had been running the car the whole time. I walked my dog, so I was good to go. I went to pull out of my spot and my backup camera went off, and I saw that dang silver car right behind me, impeding me from pulling out to my parking spot. At this point, I'm no longer trying to be polite. I give him a nasty look, don't even bother to stop my dog from barking at him, and I say, "I'm fine, thanks." He just nods and slowly, ever so slowly, crawls out of his parking space and down the lot towards the exit, and hangs there as if waiting for me to drive out. My instincts are telling me something is really off with this guy, but I'm trying to rationalize, chalking it up to my paranoia and anxiety and general distrust of people. I tell myself he's probably just a bit senile and means well, but still, I stay stubbornly in my spot and do not leave until he finally gives up and pulls out of the lot, going the opposite way that I was going to. The whole day, the entire incident bothered me. It wasn't until later when talking to my male friend that I realized how messed up the whole thing was. He didn't know which car was mine when he began stalking me. I was nowhere near it. Once I got in my car, he pulled up a few spots away to purposely continue watching me, and seeing that my car was clearly fine and running since I was blasting the AC, and I'd rolled up my windows without any difficulty. I've had cars that have broken down before, and I'm mechanically inclined enough, as my friend pointed out. If my car was broken down, I would have at least had my hood popped, and I would be elbows deep in my engine bay, checking my oil, my other fluids, my belts, my radiator, my battery, and my alternator. I've been there, I've done that a million times. Once again, he had the oxygen tube in his nose and no tank anywhere in sight. I drive an SUV and he was in a Honda sedan, so I was easily able to see into his vehicle. Nothing, nada. The fact that he insisted something was wrong with my car bothered me. It was as if he wanted me to get out of my car to either check, probably thinking because I'm a young, small female that I don't understand mechanics or know when something is wrong with my car, or to prove to him that it was fine. There were no signs at all that anything was wrong with my car, and if there was, I wouldn't be out walking my dog. I'd be in the engine bay on the phone with the towing company, and I would be highly stressed out and filthy. What's even more bothersome is he did this in broad daylight with people watching from their cars. He purposely stalked me as close as he could with his car, nearly driving in the grass, turning around and creeping slowly past me 3 times and following me as I walked, and then parking my car once he saw me get in it. I think he parked next to me and stared at me like that to try to take some time to figure out an excuse or a reason to approach me before he stopped me from leaving and pulled up next to me. The entire thing was incredibly uncomfortable, creepy, off, and gave me Ted Bundy vibes. After all, an elderly man with an oxygen tube in his nose doesn't look like he's capable of harming anyone. but boy, did he want me to get out of that car. Him hanging around the exit to try and catch me leaving was probably the worst of it all. It wasn't enough that he stalked and harassed me in the lot, no. Why not try to follow me to wherever I was going? So, old man at the park and ride with the oxygen tube that connects to nothing. Let's not meet, ever.